Hey, in this video, I'm going to give you tips and common questions about the insurance license exam. Hopefully these tips and this advice helps you set yourself up for success to pass the exam in your state. So I'm going to be straight to the point. Let's dive into it. Question number one, how much time do you need to study? So I like to believe that you need at least, at the very minimum, 2 weeks to study and pass the insurance license exam. I recommend if you can start a month in advance or even 2 months in advance, the more study time that you have, the better, so that you're prepared. It is a difficult test. And also another really important thing is set the date. Like, go by and set the date so that you don't just procrastinate and drag your feet and say, one day I'm going to take the exam. The amount of people that I've seen say they're going to take the exam and never actually take it is insane. So set a date, give yourself at least 2 weeks where you can really dedicate time to studying at least 5 hours a day during those 2 weeks to prepare and pass the exam. How hard is the insurance exam? The insurance exam is actually very difficult. It's not as easy as people make it seem. There are a ton of double negatives, tricky questions that are going to try to confuse you. And sometimes you're going to look at all the questions and you're going to think, they all sound right, or maybe they all sound wrong. So you really need to give yourself sufficient study time to make sure you're prepared, understand the vocabulary in the exam and how you can apply those and understand the question and really execute and use the process of elimination to give yourself the best statistical odds to passing the exam. The pre-license course is actually pretty easy. You can take the quizzes and the exam at the end as many times as you want, and you can take as long as you want to pass it. You need to take the 52 hours in order to complete the exam. So it's a 52-hour course that is really meant to help prepare you for understanding the vocabulary, knowing the vocabulary, how the questions are going to be phrased in the actual exam. But the actual course is pretty easy. I highly recommend investing in a good quality course because those will set you up for your knowledge and passing the actual state exam. So how do you study for the exam? Everybody's a little bit different in their learning style, but for me personally, I kind of blew through the pre-license course. I just kind of pushed through it as fast as I could, wanted to get the pre-license, and just wanted to study for the exam. So some people really like the pre-license course to set themselves up for the exam. Personally, I just blow right through it, and then I like to use flashcards. I take vocabulary. It's a big vocabulary test, so I like to use flashcards to really kind of study and prepare myself for the words that are going to be used on the exam. And then obviously practice tests, nailing down practice tests. I like to keep shorter practice tests instead of doing like these 100 question ones where you don't even find out if you're right or wrong until 100 questions later. I like to do smaller practice tests where they're like 20 questions or 15 or 10 questions where I can see the answers pretty quickly, and that way I can go back and understand what did I do wrong instead of going 98 questions later. Now I can find out what I did wrong way back there. So shorter practice questions and use as many flashcards as you can. Everybody's different, but that's the style that's worked for me, and I really kind of flew through the pre-license course. Not always recommended, but some people it works. Is it worth it to get your insurance license? The answer to that is yes. Getting your insurance license is one of the most beneficial things you can do if you're already in the insurance industry. It allows you to, first off, leverage more salary and income from your job. It also allows you to branch off if you want to go do your own thing and really use your license for yourself and start your own agency. So getting your license, first off, reinforces the knowledge that you need to legally transact insurance, first off. And second, it just really kind of gives you the freedom and the leverage that you need in the insurance industry to be successful. Passing the license exam without studying is very unlikely. It is just like any of these other exams like the SAT or the ACT You can go into it and try to pass with just using experience, but I do not recommend that. It's much more than just having some insurance experience. Insurance experience is very different than passing that exam. I can confidently say right now, even as an agency owner, after 5 years, I could probably go back and fail that test right now, just because it is so tricky in the way that it's a strategic test. It's not always about the real life day-to-day insurance operations that I handle. It's a strategic test that you need to study for, so it is very unlikely you're going to pass that exam without studying. Property and casualty insurance, in my opinion, is one of the best career paths you can possibly choose. There are a bunch of different industries out there that are sales related, real estate agents, loan officers, et cetera, but property and casualty is an extremely stable, borderline, I hate to use the word recession proof, but it has been commonly used for insurance. It's extremely stable. It continues to flow even during downturns in the economy. Everybody needs insurance, and I think it's one of the most overlooked industries, specifically property and casualty. Life insurance is very glamorized too, with everybody flashy, making all these big commissions up front. Property and casualty is not super glamorous up front, but it is extremely stable, it's extremely consistent, and in the long run, you can do extremely well. And there's a reason why they say that insurance industry has made the most millionaires out of any industry in the world. So highly recommend property and casualty. If you're interested, hit us up. Your insurance license will be active and valid for 2 years. Real estate, on the other hand, is 4 years in California. In California, for insurance, it's 2 years. So every 2 years, I know and it comes up super quick, you have the continuing education courses that you need to pass prior to the 2-year renewal and expiration of your license. So make sure to finish your CE credits and getting those things done before, to make sure you're in compliance with the Department of Insurance and you know your state laws and insurance standards before you renew every 2 years. So there's a mixture of questions on the insurance license exam. It's not just personal lines or it's not just commercial lines. It is going to be thrown at you, and it doesn't necessarily mean, if one of your friends told you that there was a bunch of commercial questions, it doesn't mean that you're going to get a bunch of commercial questions. It really depends. Every test is a little bit different, so you might get a more personal lines heavy question exam. It's all dependent on the version of the exam that you get. So just be prepared for both. I know that commercial has a big section and personal lines has a big section, and then there's a lot of miscellaneous kind of just standard insurance knowledge that you need to have, which is mainly just vocabulary, but they're going to throw all that at you, and maybe even some math questions in there. So be prepared for it all. Personally, I believe that getting your P&C license is a lot harder than getting your life and health license. The P&C has a lot more stuff, commercial, personal, workers' comp, umbrellas, inland marine, floaters, like all these different things. Life and health is pretty straightforward. You just need to focus on, term, whole life, and then the health benefits. It's less material. So I believe the property and casualty is a little bit harder to get, even though it's more kind of generic information that people understand. So yeah, P&C, in my opinion, is harder to get than the life and health. If you fail the insurance license exam, you can definitely retake it. I think every state has a bit of a different standard for how many times you can take it. In California, it's supposedly 3 times every year. So make sure that you check with your state Department of Insurance before you go and you fail the second or third time, because you might be stuck and not be able to take it again for another year. So, but yes, you can definitely retake it if you fail once. So your insurance license does not work in other states unless you go and you extend your license and get an extended non-resident insurance license. So let's just say I'm in California and I have a policy that I need to sell in Arizona. I legally cannot sell that policy until I get a non-resident insurance license for Arizona for myself, which you can easily do. You can go online and extend. It just costs a fee to extend your license to another state. So if you are interested in that, you need to just go online and register a non-resident license and pay that fee. In my opinion, it's best to get your P&C license first and then get your life and health license after. The reason for that, the P&C license allows you to sell property and casualty insurance, which has smaller commissions up front, but more consistent renewal commissions on the back end. Life insurance and life and health has these big commissions up front and then very little renewal on the back end. So my belief is getting the P&C license first to lay a foundation of customers. Also, the P&C is personal and commercial insurance. Every single person needs that, so it's a lot easier to sell some of these policies like auto insurance and home insurance to lay that foundation of customers, and then adding your life and health license later to sell those life and health products to protect those assets for their family, for your customers that you've already kind of built up a little foundation. So that's my belief. Start with the P&C, then get the life and health. Obviously, if you don't want to do that and you just want to focus on life and health, do whatever you feel. The steps to get your P&C license are, A, you need to get a pre-license course. Go and look up a pre-license course, invest in a good one. We recommend Mike Russ. Getting the 52-hour pre-license course certificate allows you to go and then take the state exam, which I highly recommend taking 2 or 3 weeks and really focusing so that you can study and pass that exam. Once you pass the exam, you can register your license, your past license exam with the Department of Insurance. They will release you a license number, and then boom, you are an active licensed insurance agent. You do not need any insurance experience to pass the state license exam. It is recommended because then at least you know the foundational knowledge, but you do not need that experience. You can actually just go take a pre-license course, study a bunch of flashcards, study the material, and go and pass and get your own license, and then hopefully get hired by an insurance agency. And if you are looking to get hired, hit us up. We're always hiring. You do not have to be good at math to pass the insurance license exam. It is recommended that you are decent at math because there will be a few questions that require you to multiply, add, subtract, different limits and amounts of coverage, etc. But there are not a lot of questions on there regarding math, so you don't have to be good at math, but you do have to be good at answering the rest of the questions. That's the end of the video. I hope that does, bring some value to you and helps you answer some of the questions that you might be wondering about passing the insurance license exam. So if you did get any value, would really appreciate if you give us a like so this reaches more agents and helps them pass the exam. And also subscribe, ring the bell so that you get notifications about more insurance stuff. Really appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys at the top. Also check out chriscostantini.com if you want to talk to me directly for a one-on-one consultation. See you guys soon. Peace.